So this is didadit.com. Now I've made a video about this already and I'll link that in the description. Went into a little bit more depth when this was first released, but I wanted to talk about a few new features that have been added. So very quickly though, just to kind of show people what this is about if this is the first time you're seeing this, it's for learning to copy Morse code. So you can tap a word and it will play it and stop and go character by character, showing you what it's doing. You can press play and it will play the word without showing it, and it will automatically advance to the next word. Give you a chance to recognize it, say what it is.
Fry.
Show it, and then go to the next word automatically. So this is great to just work your way through these lessons, let it play while you're doing things. Maybe you're running on the treadmill or driving or something like that. It's very nice to learn to copy Morse code this way. There's a bunch of lessons. These are kind of in the same structure as the CW Ops course, which is when I first made this, while going through the first semester of that. So it's in kind of the same structure. There's other content also besides the CW Ops. There's locations, a bunch of cities around the world, the United States. There's names, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letter names. You can go through. This is for practicing QSO type things. There's QSO. This is, I think, a little bit expanded with some more common phrases. So there's common words, common abbreviations. There's some more QSO phrases, though, have been added. So that's kind of a new feature. And Q codes. And then some new content that's been added since the last video is numbers. This is actually one area that I struggled, so I made a whole set of lessons to teach, to just practice numbers. 2, 3-digit numbers. Another way to practice numbers actually is call signs, and that's been added also. Tons of call signs, hundreds and hundreds of them. They're all taken from the SOTA logs, actually, and so that you can select different parts of the world and get, call signs in those formats. So that's some new content that's been added. Another thing to mention is, like I said, you can tap to play, and it'll show while it's playing. But you normally had to either do that or have it hidden. But now, while it's playing in hidden mode, you can tap.
Fry.
Actually. So here, we'll wait for the next word. If you tap during it, it'll show it while it's playing. And then it'll advance to the next word and it'll show that.
Yummy.
So it kind of switches modes. So I suppose this is for people who, are trying to just kind of go the other way around. You see the letter, you think of what it should sound like, and then it plays it, and you hear that it sounded correct. So it's kind of learning it the other way around. Some people like to do that, or at least maybe your first pass through the lessons, when you're first learning some new letters, maybe do it this way, and then go back through and do it with it hidden. To get back out of the mode, just tap again. It goes back to hidden mode. Another thing is when you pause like this while it's in the middle of playing, it doesn't show it. It used to before. That's a new feature. Which is just so you can pause and continue without revealing the next answer, unless you tap, and it'll show it. So there's a couple quick, simple little features. Some new things in settings. So we used to have, speed and Farnsworth. We've added Wordsworth. So the idea here is that maybe you set your, regular speed quite high, maybe not quite that high, but then you turn down the Wordsworth very slow. So the idea is at some point, and so now I'm in the second semester of CW Ops, and we're getting into more instant character recognition, and it turns out that some very common words, like RST or DE, things like that, you end up just hearing the sound of the entire word and recognizing the entire word as a unit rather than letter by letter. But Farnsworth spacing gets in the way of being able to do that. So it's nice to be able to bump up the Farnsworth, or even maybe not have any difference between your speed and Farnsworth, but then use what we're calling Wordsworth to increase the space between the words. So for example, let's go to maybe some of the QSO phrases. So here it'll play quite quickly, the letters, but then pause quite a bit between the words, give you plenty of time to recognize it, and then go through the next word quickly, pause for a long time. So that's the Wordsworth setting to help you kind of get recognition of whole words at a time instead. Then one more feature that's been added in settings is scrambling. So for example, the numbers or call signs, you might go through these lessons and kind of get used to the order of what you're seeing. If instead you set scramble, then you get a random order. But it is a consistent order. So once it's scrambled, it's just like scrambling a deck of cards. You really will be guaranteed to see all of the content in the lesson once only, and it'll still work its way through the lesson, showing your progress at the top, and saying your lesson's complete when you reach the end. And once you've reached the end, you really have seen all of the content once only, but in a scrambled order. And now once you leave a lesson and come back, then you get a new scramble. So every time you repeat a lesson, you'll get a different scramble, but it's consistent within that. If you go back and forth, you end up seeing them in the same order. It's not just a random thing every time you advance. So some of those are the new features. It's quite simple. I like this little site. It's very nice. One thing I wanted to show actually is that this thing, turns out, it works quite nicely on a watch even. So I initially made it to work on any kind of mobile devices was kind of the target I had in mind, iPhones and maybe iPads or things like that. I didn't realize actually until the other day I just tried it on my Apple Watch. There's no browser that you can just type in the address on the Apple Watch, it seems, but if you send yourself a link, you can click the link and it'll open in a browser. So anyway, it works on the watch, and that's actually quite convenient and nice to use on a watch. So anyway, it's a quick update. Hopefully people are finding this little tool useful. I certainly am. Keep expanding it as I continue my way through the CW ops. And that's about it.